Hi everyone, welcome for part 2 of our conversation. I really hope you enjoyed part 1. So, we'll begin with where we left off, and I think the point that we can start on is about when does a relationship starts becoming suffocating or toxic, and how do you recognize it? So, okay, I'll go first, of course. Experienced people should go first.
एक साल ज़्यादा experience है बस तुझे एक साल ज़्यादा.
That's because I'm a year older than her, just for clarification.
You're not revealing the exact age.
Yeah, but
That's the
yeah.
difference.
So, you know, I feel that for people who are like me, who are like very emotional, it takes a long time to recognize that okay, this relationship is not how it started or how it should be. It is, or it has probably already turned into a toxic relation. And what happens is that it has an impact on you. Like, okay, I'll explain it with an example that we've all heard it, right? What goes around comes around. What you attract, what you reflect. And it's so true because whatever is happening around in my environment, that is something that I am attracting towards myself, and I'm also reflecting it back because uh, if I am with people who are negative or who are having a negative impact on my life, I am also absorbing that energy, and after a point I am also giving that energy out. So my life will also turn into something which is very bad and toxic, because a lot of times when people give you those comments or those feedbacks कि यार तू ना बहुत डल हो गई है, यार तू ना बहुत टेंशन में रहने लगी है, तेरे फेस पे एकदम से कुछ हो गया है, या you suddenly become very irritable, you suddenly become very arrogant, and then you're like यार मैं तो ऐसी नहीं हूँ, ये क्या हो रहा है. तो same when somebody says that yeah these days you look very happy, or it seems like you have a very positive energy, and then you suddenly start reflecting, okay, maybe it's because of this person who I have made my friend. Because of his energy or her energy in my life, I am also becoming a happier person. Similarly, if that person is someone who is toxic or that relationship is toxic, I will also start reflecting that energy from my life. And that's what happened with me. That I was constantly so stressed about that one particular person, the relation I shared with that person, constantly worried. There was no element of happiness or positivity in that relation. You're constantly stressed, you're constantly worried कि यार ये क्या सोचेगा मेरे बारे में, क्या सोचेगी मेरे बारे में, and I need to justify myself again, I need to clarify myself again. There's constant bashing and blaming onto you, and you keep quiet because you feel that you've been friends for 10 years, you've been friends for 14 years, 11 years, whatever number of years, and then you feel कि यार कोई बात नहीं, जाने देते हैं. What you said, that you're letting the other person take you for granted, and that's what's happening. That was what was happening. So the moment I realized कि ये constant tension जो दिमाग में रहता है, ये constant जो एक anxiety feel होती है कि यार क्या हो रहा है, क्या कर रहे हैं, क्या होगा आगे, क्या होगा, क्या बोलूँगी, all of this can go away, all of that unhappy element can go away from my life if I am able to just stop the toxic energy from that person coming into my life. And it's difficult, but the moment you recognize it, you are like, okay, I have recognized the root cause of a very big disturbing element in my life, and that can be life changing. The moment I recognized that friend as a toxic friend, and gradually went out to cut that person out of my life, suddenly all of that mental space that that person was occupying in my life, वो सब खाली हो गया. उतना सारा amount of tension, anxiety, stress, space was suddenly empty to be filled in with a lot of more important people. That space became available for a lot of positive energy to come into my life, a lot of happiness to come into my life. And जैसे घर में आपको अच्छा लगता है ना कि सब एकदम क्रैम्प्ड हो, चीज़ें नहीं अच्छी लगती कि पूरा घर एकदम फर्नीचर से ठुसा हुआ है, सामान से ठुसा हुआ है, नहीं. आप उसको खाली कर दो ना कि यार थोड़ी ब्रीदिंग स्पेस हो, घर में थोड़ी रोशनी आए, थोड़ा खाली खाली जगह अच्छा लगता है. लाइफ में भी वैसे थोड़ा खाली स्पेस अच्छा लगता है, क्योंकि टॉक्सिक पर्सन क्या करता है ना, वो आपकी पूरी लाइफ मेंटल स्पेस ऑक्यूपाई करके बैठ जाता है कि भैया आप सारा टाइम हमारे बारे में ही सोचो, हमारी ही बातें करो और हमारे ही प्रॉब्लम्स से डील करते रहो. यू डोंट हैव योर ओन प्रॉब्लम्स, डील विद माई प्रॉब्लम्स. And once you're able to cut that person out, you have to be strong, you have to be confident in your own self ki nahi, I am an individual who is strong enough to survive without this person. So it is tough, regardless of whatever I'm saying right now. It was tough for me too, to cut out a person who's been there in your life for like 10 years, 12 years. But once I did it, I cannot tell you how relieved I feel. Like ऐसा लगता है वो सच में एक बोझ उठ गया है सर से, and you're suddenly so um, calm, you're happy, you're not answerable again to anybody. That anxiety has gone, and mentally you feel so much better. Like you feel mentally healthy again. So have you ever, I'm sure you had toxic, I know you have had toxic people, sure. But would you like to share how did you recognize that trait, and what did you do after that?
So of course it's again, it's person to person all over again. वो आपकी किस्मत थी कि आपको एक toxic इंसान मिला, and just cutting that person out is also not a solution. You never know, next फिर
हाँ, दूसरा इंसान भी वैसा ही निकले.
Because there was a time, again, there was a reason why you spend the 10 years with that person, 12 years with that person. There was a sense of relief at one point of time. But of course, things change, people change, situations change, and that's when you feel like, okay, I'm not comfortable where things are going right now. And initially, these things are invisible. Like, समझ नहीं आता, like these things are like not to be, इतना सोचने वाली बात नहीं है. It's okay, लड़ाई तो हुई है, it's fine. But when it becomes a pattern, of course that's one trait when we can identify that things are going toxic. So of course किसी भी चीज़ का pattern रहना is not healthy.
Yeah.
And when it's happening again and again. So I myself personally, I try to confront that एक टाइम के बाद कि like this is happening again and again. But sometimes even I also make that mistake a lot of times कि जाने देता है, it's okay,
Yeah.
कोई बात नहीं, I cannot just lose a friend all of a sudden for no reason. But confronting is most important, and of course when things are happening in pattern. And one thing I said, when somebody is not agreeing to your opinion, because we are consuming so many content in a single day, we are opinionated people. Our subjects, our life, our whatever we are working for is built on opinions. So we all think in a different way, but if you're not respecting what I think or what I believe in, then you're not a friend. Okay, you might be completely opposite. You don't have to follow the same things. You might do your own things. And third is when there is nothing to look up to. Because every relationship, it teaches you a lot. That's why a relationship becomes stronger, it grows, because something or the other there is to learn from one or the other.
You contribute to each each other's life.
Yeah, and something that you like about me, something I like about you, something, it's very interesting how you're leading a lifestyle in a certain way, and I try to, I get inspired and I want to follow that, and somewhere, that brings a positive change in my life. Similarly, there could be bad things also, you know.
Perfect तो कोई भी नहीं है.
हाँ, nobody is a saint, okay? Like those things, वो traits very much हमारे अंदर भी exist करता है. But sometimes, situation ऐसा हो जाता है कि हम वो toxic इंसान बन जाते हैं because of the toxic person maybe, or maybe whatever we are going through in our lives, something must be happening in my office or in my house that's I'm becoming very irritating, and I'm just ranting all around, I don't need you, or things like that. Another way I would say, one is the social media, that don't crowd yourself. It's like we have so many people on our friend list. Like this is something very personal which I noticed, that we are just wishing each other happy birthday. That's it. That's the only contribution we have in our lives. And हम बस एक दूसरे के pictures देख रहे हैं, stories देख रहे हैं. And neither I am making the conversation happen, ना ही उस तरफ से आ रहा है कुछ.
How many friends do you really have? वो Facebook पे तो 1000 है.
Yeah. And so is Instagram and everything, because everything you're putting out on social media. And I don't think अभी हम लोग उस phase में हैं where बहुत सारे हमारे fans है, followers है, they should know this is how our day went, and a lot of people are not even interested जो हमारे list में. So I would suggest that keep those people who really want to know about you and whom you want to know about. So I think that's again contributing to each other's lives. And again, one simple rule that I follow, it's very, principle-like approach, or a very stupid thing I would say, for which I do, but I think it had helped me a lot, is that I give people 3 chances. Okay.
That's sweet.
Yeah, like it's, if the conversation is not happening the way I want, then I don't put it out. You see, this is not happening. ये गलत है, ये सही है, वो है. But because I don't expect people to understand me, because I don't even take it on myself that I need to understand you all the time. Okay, because कुछ चीजें हम unnecessarily बोल देते हैं, few things we don't mean. So just giving that space, I try to make a conversation once with that person. अगर एक neutral reply आता है, then I mean ठीक है, things are going on a good way. If not, then there will be the 3rd count when I will be like, okay, अब पक्का cut out हो रहा है.
I think at some point it's selfish sounds like a good word. It's not a bad term. Like, over the years we've made it sound like something which is very negative. But my experience has taught me, and even, if you hear entrepreneurs, if you hear people who are building businesses, and also people, if you hear philosophers, they say that it's a very weird thing that entrepreneurs and philosophers are saying the same thing, but they always say that ultimately human beings are selfish, because you are getting some form of gratification in everything that you're doing. If you wouldn't be getting it, you would not do it. And I feel that in a relationship as well, after a point you must be a little selfish. वो सेल्फलेस वाला जो लव होता है ना, जो अनकंडीशनल लव होता है, it is a reality only when it sort of is both ways. Your mother loves you in a very unconditional way, but the moment you start treating her in a nasty way, you start disrespecting her, she'll not like it. She'll tell you. Her love will not go down for you, but she'll tell you that you're wrong. So similarly, even in a friendship, you must point it out that this is what you're doing. In a relationship also, A lot of times people don't say anything because they feel that, रिश्ता टूट जाएगा, yeah, something will happen, so let me just, you know gulp it down like a like a sour tasty medicine.
Also, a lot of times, people just don't want to get into drama.
Yeah.
And they're like, just let
Just
it be.
let it. But it's important to be a little selfish and point it out that, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, and probably what you're doing is something that I don't like. So, let's work on this together. And that's why communication is very important. And what you were mentioning before, that, every relationship cannot be the same, right? You have to give the space, you have to um, give that amount of sort of like a mature perspective to it, that it's okay if that person is not interested in maintaining that kind of a relationship with you. It's okay, you don't he's not bound to do that. But what I would like to focus here on saying is that, ultimately, um, it all comes down to keep trying. Like, even if one relation has not worked, even if one friendship has not worked, it cannot be that, you just stop trusting people altogether, or you just stop putting an effort for any kind of relation to build. Because I because when you grow older with each, like, obviously we're all growing older, but with each passing day you are also reaching a point in your life where people will leave you, people will move on and become more focused in their own personal lives. So you need to keep that process going on and on, that, you keep meeting new people, keep putting efforts in them, keep building those relations, because you never know who turns out to be a person that, where you feel that, this is a person that really connects with me, or that person really understands me for this. Maybe he or she is also there in your life for a very particular point, like time period, but still, if you don't invest in that relation, if you don't build that relation, you'll not know where it goes. If it ends, it's okay, but at least you live that much time together. It can't be कि एक रिलेशन अच्छा नहीं हुआ तो बस अब मैं किसी से बात ही नहीं करूँगी सारी जिंदगी. People do that, one relation doesn't work and then they're like, I don't want to build any relation with anybody, I'm done with people. No, you cannot be done with people. As human beings, you are social beings, and COVID especially has taught us that we cannot survive alone. You need your community, you need people, and you need that emotional and moral support from the people around you. Because अगर कभी कोई problem होगी, that neighbor you're fighting with for your car's parking is the person who's going to come first. Even before your relatives and your family members, your neighbor is going to come first. And that is why I think किसी एक स्कूल का ये लोगो भी है, love your neighbor as yourself or something like that. Like, I'm not sure which school it is, but something related to this only, that, you must love your neighbor very dearly. Because what I could make out of it is, your neighbor is the first person who's there to celebrate your happiness, to mourn your sadness. And, like, very recently I also lost my grandmother, and the first people to come up were you guys. Like, you are also my neighbors only, in a very broader sense. Even before relatives came in, the people around were there. So you need these people, you need these relations in your life. You can't give up on relationships, right?
One thing I would want to add, that COVID has taught us so much. So we all are going through something or the other in a different way. And I, as a person, would want somebody to be, talking to me or being a part of my life and share a warmth, love, happiness. So rather than expecting it from the people, you have to become that person first. people should come to you to share that connection, to share that
Yeah.
warmth, for
Yeah.
that love. And we have to make sure that we maintain that at our end. Of course, not at the cost of our own mental health.
Mm.
But till the time you can, you need to be that person where
Yeah.
you are, sort of working hard to build a relationship. Only then you can expect the other person to be contributing equally. And the COVID has taught us so much about togetherness, about being part of each other's happiness and sadness. And I think that was a very big lesson in our lives, where we all came together, we cried together, and I think that's what we have to maintain even after the pandemic, right? I think that's what we learned and what we need to take forward is that, like you said, we have to you have to socialize. You cannot just lock yourself inside a room and just do your Zoom call and G meetings. And that's not it. That's not life. That's not how you grow. You have to deal with people. You have to talk to people. You have to, go on trips with people and, nurture yourself with people by being around people. So it's important that you, as a human, your foundation for building a relationship is strong at your end. Only then, you can expect other people contributing the same way. So I would just, as taking away point which I try to maintain, it's okay if you are not able to give time at the moment when the person needs. It's okay if you don't have a solution for that person. It's okay. You are no big psychologist or somebody
Therapist. Yeah.
who will just sit with list of
Yeah.
solutions for you and medicines for you, whatever. But just being there sort of helps, and I think you need to start building a relationship selflessly at first, and of course keeping a tab on how things are, because if you're investing on something, you should also get good benefits out of it. Bad ups and downs are part of life. It's gonna be there, and this is what makes relationships stronger, I would say. When you see a down together, low together, that's when the relationship becomes stronger. But it's very much important that you just try to keep a tab on how people are, how your friends are, what they are doing, why there is a gap, why that person is not texting you. It's something. It's okay if somebody has done something wrong to you. Like, I won't say major big thing wrong. Wrong in a way, must have not replied to you or wasn't behaving the same way. It's always good to give that person another chance, a benefit of doubt. That
Of course.
it's okay. It's important that we keep our doors open for people, for love, for friendship. That's how we grow as a person, because at one point of time when we are growing up, these things, these dramas won't even matter.
Yeah. I think ultimately, like, I'll just close with this topic that with this point, sorry, that what I have realized post the pandemic and a lot of other experiences and incidents that have happened since 2021, I think, after the second wave hit us, is that ultimately it all comes down to prioritizing people, prioritizing your relations, because at one point you might have too many things in your hand, but you cannot provide that equal attention, equal importance. You can't give it to everybody. So it comes down to your family. And COVID, especially the second wave, has really taught me the importance of family and the relationship that you build with your family members. Because even right now, whatever conversation we have had, it's all about friends, partners, and people outside the family. But ultimately, I feel the relationship that you must work the hardest on is with your family members. Now, the definition of your family can be different. It like for me, my family is, my parents, my brother, and these 2 3 people in my life who are like who are my definition of a family. But uh, these are also the people I take for granted the most. Like I will focus on saving that friendship or that relationship or that colleague, the relation I share with my teacher, but I'll not focus on building my relation with my parents, or I will not focus on building my relation with my brother or with my let's say my very close friend who's been there with me like for so long. But these are the people who will be there with you no matter what. Like a person who you know um, is in a, let's say, single parent family. You can have a family which is a joint family. The number of people in your definition of family can be more. It depends on you what you call as family, but ultimately it's really, really, as cliche as it might sound, like Karan Johar said, it's all about loving your family. But it's so true, because that is the relationship which is the most strongest, most sensitive, and the most valuable relation of your life. Like the amount of effort, how many of us actually put an effort in talking to our mothers? वो खाली बैठे रहते हैं घर पे, ये टीवी देख लेंगे, ये कर लेंगे, but you will not go up to the next room and just have a normal conversation with your own parent. How many of us have a family time on a daily basis? That during our lunch time, you're all sitting and talking, you're all dinner time or whatever time is there in your life. How much of that time are you spending with your family? Are you only spending that Diwali, Holi, ये पूजा वो पूजा साथ में कर लेते हैं, but उसके बाद सब इधर उधर? How much time are you spending on nurturing your relation with your parents, your relation with your siblings, your relation with your partner? When you get शादी से पहले, I have a friend who got married like 3 4 years ago, and when I was talking to her, she was like, before wedding, it's like you want to talk every day, you want to meet every day, it's so exciting, and oh, I'm in a relationship, we're gonna get married and everything. But once you're married, you start taking your spouse for granted. So how much effort are you taking to continue nurturing that relationship? Your family relationship is something that is, for me at least at this point in life, it's the most important thing. That okay, I have friends, I have colleagues, I have people I work with, I have people I meet for these conversations. We also share a relation. But ultimately, if I have to go back home and think about what is it that I'm going to prioritize, what is it that I'm going to agree to transform myself for, is my family. And that is the relationship that I need to build every single day with an effort, because that effort cannot be like आज किया कल नहीं किया परसों किया उसके बाद नहीं किया. It will not work. It will not work. And I don't think any relationship has worked where there is no effort from your side, but you're just expecting everyone else to work for you, right? So would you like to share anything before we close?
Yeah. So first, you said like family could be of any type, right? Because what about somebody who's living in a city all alone? To him or her, family, the idea of family is completely different. It might be one of his colleagues or somebody who's just living downstairs. And also, second part to it is that a lot of people don't share a healthy relationships at home.
Yeah.
There's always a wall between the parents and the child, right? And it's home to home. Like it's not everywhere. I've seen my friends, a lot of friends who are very comfortable talking about each and everything with their parents, and or the other hand, there's another family I see they're just fighting with each other.
Yeah.
So it becomes difficult to expect from them or tell them that, dude, you need to work on it, or you need to build it, you know, because family first, they have done so much for you,
Yeah.
and things like that. Maybe the temperament doesn't match. Maybe, you know, at one point, there are people, especially of our age group, when we are hustling and working, we are, you know, occupied in multiple things. We are just doing our duties at home. That's it. We are just paying bills or just getting the groceries or things like that. That's it. That's the only contribution you have to the family. But like you said, that you experience so many things, and we always imagine to be in a world like it won't be wrong to say we all are daydreamers, right? There's something or the other we feel like, अरे यार ऐसा होता मेरे साथ, you know, अगर मेरे life में अगर ये चीज़ होता, if I had such people in my life, things would have been different. But that change can come from you. You know, whatever you think is going wrong at your own house or with your friends, you can start making that change. You can start making that effort and see what happens.
Yeah.
You know, next. It's not important that things will be communicated the same way, it will reciprocate the same way, not at all. Not at all. Sometimes not at all. Sometimes maybe in bits and pieces you can. But there's no harm in making efforts for something good. That's what I would want to say.
Okay. So thank you so much, Arundhati, for agreeing to do this. I think this was one of the most uh, informal, like the most unstructured conversations we've had, but also something very, very important, and something I feel that everyone who watches this will be able to relate to, because we've all been through this, and we've all sort of evolved over the years with relations. It's not like, you know, anybody in the world cannot be alive without any form of relationship with anybody. So I'm sure that, you know, everyone has some opinion after hearing this, good, bad. It can be, you know, maybe you agree with us, maybe you don't agree with us, but you know, it's been a lovely discussion. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks to you.
All right, thank you so much everyone for joining in.